Hi there. This is a quick casting leak summary video for House of the Dragon that a couple of days ago spy photos leaked out which pretty much confirmed who's playing Aegon II and his younger brother Aemond Targaryen. And I realize there have been other instances over the past couple of weeks and months where we saw actors in spy photos that were so clear that cross-referenced with their social media follows on Instagram, we are 99% sure we know who's been cast, and we're just waiting on official confirmation, official announcement from HBO as a formality. But we figured this out. This is distinct from casting speculation, which is a lot more vague. It's not backed up by spy photos. Like, I suspect that Millie Brady is playing Jane Arryn, but that isn't confirmed. And even if she's joined the cast, we have no way of knowing who she's playing. That we think she might be Jane Arryn based on her appearance, but that's more speculative. These are the ones that are all but confirmed where we got really clear spy photos. We know who these are. Basically, Alicent's children and Rhaenyra and Daemon's children. That we're awaiting announcements, but we know who they are. So because these other ones came out in dribs and drabs in different videos and sometimes tacked on to the end of other videos, I want to just clearly read off the list of these are people that we have spy photos we've all but confirmed. We're just waiting for the official announcement that these are who's joined the cast. To start with, the news that came out this week that Aegon II will probably be played by Tom Glynn-Carney, the clear spy photos, and that his brother Aemond will be played by Ewan Mitchell. I mean, we have spy photos of these guys. We have Ewan wearing an eye patch. This is who's playing it. And social media cross-references also pretty much point in that direction. Complicating matters is that there will be younger and older versions of all the characters. Because there's going to be like a time jump around episode 5 or 6, based on the spy photos, it's around episode 5 or 6, between young Rhaenyra and young Alicent, and adult Rhaenyra and adult Alicent. Other spy photos have shown like really small brown-haired children playing Rhaenyra's sons. And then by what we think is episode 9 or so, we have teenagers playing her sons. So there's going to be a smaller time jump around episode 8 or so. Not enough that they'd recast Emma Darcy and Olivia Cook, that there's overlap, that at Laena's funeral, Olivia Cook is playing Alicent Hightower, but young Aemond will lose his eye. Then they'll recast by episode 8 for Ewan Mitchell. There'll be like a time jump of 5 years, which is more important for a teenager than for, Emma Darcy is slightly older. So there's two time jumps where they're recasting. The one around episode 6 is when they recast the older actors like Rhaenyra and Alicent. Then we're talking Rhaenyra and Alicent's children will have a little time jump between child actors playing them for like 2 or 3 episodes. Around episode, well, given that Rhaenyra's marriage is around episode 6, these kids are going to be playing them for like 2 or 3 episodes. Then episode 8, we get the ones that are sticking with probably for the rest of the series. So I don't want to keep saying adult Aegon and young Aegon. It's just young Aegon and Aegon, okay? So Tom Glynn-Carney is Aegon II. Ewan Mitchell is Aemond. I've said before, we strongly suspect that Ty Tennant is young Aegon II, but we haven't seen him in spy photos yet. Someone we have seen in spy photos and is following people on Instagram who are part of the show, we're a little more certain that young Aemond, the one who will get his eye slashed out, is played by actor Dylan Hughes. Though this is a bit more tentative. And even more tentative is that Ty Tennant could be Aegon II. Meanwhile, we don't know who's playing Helaena Targaryen, Aegon's sister wife. We don't know who's playing the adult version, but we strongly suspect that Evie Allen is playing young Helaena, just based on her age range. And Helaena doesn't do that much in this time period, and she'd only be in it for like 2 or 3 episodes, but we think Evie Allen is that based on her age and appearance. Now, the other issue is, and this is one of the central things we're worried about, we don't know if they've cast the third son of Rhaenyra or the third son of Alicent. That you could plausibly tell the story without them, though it'd be diminished because of it. That there's a very strong chance they've cut Rhaenyra's third son, Joff. And I'm a bit on the fence about whether they'd cut Alicent's third son, Daeron the Daring. Given that he's part of the Reach subplot and the teaser trailer prominently showed the Tarleys, I'm starting to have hope they haven't cut him. And we've seen spy photos of a younger Targaryen kid with young Aemond, that these are clearly not the same age, but we can't tell. So if you're wondering why I haven't read off Daeron the Daring under Alicent's children, we're not even sure if he's in it. The rest of these are Rhaenyra and Daemon's children. That was Team Green, this is Team Black. Start with, from other leaks that just came out, very clear spy photos, very clearly showing the actors' faces. We could do side-by-side comparisons. We're pretty sure that Harry Collette is playing Jace Velaryon, Rhaenyra's eldest son, and that Elliot Greeholt is playing Luke Velaryon, the middle son. And as I said, a big issue is they might have cut the third son entirely. Joff? We don't know. As for the younger versions of these, we had this blurry video of the younger versions. We had no way of matching them up. And again, they're child actors. They'd only be just running around on screen for 2 or 3 episodes. Probably wouldn't have heavy dialogue, and then they'll be done. So this isn't as important. We're pretty sure that child actor Leo Hart has, based on his Instagram follows, has joined the cast, and we saw in the blurry video, it kind of looks like him. But, because it's a younger version, we have no idea if Leo Hart is playing the young version of Jace or the young version of Luke. And it doesn't really matter. I'd be excited if it was, oh god, it's the young version of Daeron the Daring or of Joff, confirming they're even in the show. But we've already confirmed that Jace and Luke are in the show from the spy photos, high-resolution spy photos of them as teenagers. So whoever plays them for an episode as a child isn't quite as important. Finally, we get Daemon's twin daughters, Baela and Rhaena. The issue is we have 99% confirmed who is playing the young versions of them that show up to Laena's funeral. We even saw them in the blurry video, because these are dark-skinned children with Valyrian white hair as wigs, and it's easier to track down that they're these two mixed-race actresses, young actresses, who are following people on Instagram. I've made a whole separate video on this, actually. That we're pretty sure that Baela is being played by actress Shawnee Smethurst, while young Rhaena is being played by Ava Osei-Gurning. The issue is that, well, we saw them with small children, small brown-haired boys at the funeral. Then we saw spy photos of teenaged Jace and Luke. Stands to reason that they will cast separate teenaged versions of Baela and Rhaena. I shouldn't call them young and adult. It's young and teenaged. But thinking on it, I used to just call them Baela and Rhaena. Now I think these two actresses are playing the young versions of Baela and Rhaena, and we're waiting on finding out who's playing the teenager ones, who will be alongside Harry Collette as Jace Velaryon. They're roughly the same age as him. But that's everyone who we 99% think have been cast. We're just waiting for HBO to fess up to it, because we got really clear spy photos of them. This isn't even considering the speculative ones. Then, of course, we got that huge burst 3 weeks ago where they announced the small council. I said the through line was these are all small council members, plus Lionel Strong's son, Harwin, but that's because he's his son. But otherwise, it's like Lyman Beesbury, Grand Maester Mellos. The through line was these are small council cast members. And they just cast a young Mysaria while they were at it. That was from Redanian Intelligence. They announced that. She'd only be like an episode or 2. The issue I'm thinking on now is who is left to be cast that they haven't formally announced yet. Oh, also the Cargyle twins, that we saw them. Luke and Elliot Tittenzor, they're playing those. Otherwise, who would you necessarily see in season 1? This ties into the question of when does season 1 end? Maybe season 2 will not skip ahead 10 years to do the Dance of the Dragons. Maybe we thought the season 1 finale would feature the death of Viserys. Now we're wondering if they will, I wouldn't say pad it out, but take the time to develop other subplots in season 2 that happen in, book fans will know this as the 120s AC after Conquest, that in the prequel novellas it just skims through that very quickly, but that's like a decade of time, and things did happen then that they mention in other things retroactively, like what were the Starks doing, what were the Lannisters doing, and it mentions it in outline that like this is when Cregan Stark fought his uncle who usurped him for rule of the North. Maybe we want to have a Stark subplot to take up a couple episodes in season 2 rather than sidelining them. The question then becomes, are they even going to introduce Cregan Stark in season 1? Or are they saving him for this big subplot in season 2 because they're not even getting to the dance until the season 2 finale? Which I'd actually want them to do. I want them to develop the Starks and Lannisters more, all the other characters. I think Cregan would make at least a cameo in season 1, but there is an open question, would they even cast him for this? Bigger thing, because of the time skips, we would see a cameo by a young child Cregan, but they wouldn't cast the person who's going to be playing Cregan throughout the rest of the run of this show until season 2. Like, even if they do have the Stark subplot in the 120s in season 2, they don't need to cast adult Cregan, well, teenaged Cregan, until next year. But it'll be nice to see, oh, here's a little kid who's going to play young Cregan for like an episode as a cameo. The Lannisters have to be in this because Jason and Tywin have been cast as Jason's prominent ruler. Tywin's going to join the small council, so they're already in it. Who are characters that they necessarily need to cast in season 1? Like Dalton Greyjoy, same as Cregan. Even more than Cregan, I don't think we'll see even a young one making a cameo, because like young Cregan could make a cameo at like maybe Harrenhal, just to establish the council at Harrenhal, like have his father be there, but he's like a 5-year-old who tagged along, just to establish this is who Cregan is. I'm not sure if they'll even do that, but Dalton Greyjoy would have even less reason to be in season 1. They might simply not cast him. So there's a question of making a list of who are remaining people they need to cast. Like, this list used to consist of like small council members that if you read the Rogue Prince novella, these are characters who need to appear. Now these are just, maybe they'll work them in to set them up, or like the Blackwoods, they might actually want to set up early on, maybe not. So I've narrowed it down to about 4 people who I think they need to cast for season 1. Like, they might not put Jane Arryn in, I hope they do. But the 4 I think they need to, either they will or they're cutting them entirely. Top of the list, everyone keeps asking, where the heck is Mushroom? I've seen the writers talking about him like, oh man, I'm going to survive this COVID pandemic like Mushroom survived the winter fever by hiding in a cask of ale. That was like a year ago. I know they like him, the writers on this. I saw them talking about him on Twitter. There's actually been reports the last week from filming in Cáceres of there was this night scene where they were filming a brothel scene in King's Landing. They said, oh, this is in Spanish, so I'm going through Google Translate, and there's a lot of naked women there, a lot of naked women extras, plus there's this dwarf actor there. So that's very vague, and maybe there's more than one dwarf in Westeros, but that might have been Mushroom, but that is totally unconfirmed. That's just a rumor. So in terms of people who would appear, Mushroom might have been cut from the show entirely, or they would cast him for season 1. Other people that should be cast for season 1, Emma Arryn, Rhaenyra's mother, that we've seen spy photos of her funeral. The question is, how much dialogue does she have? Maybe it's just casting someone to play a corpse at her funeral, but we don't know. Other ones, well, we saw Daemon fighting in the Stepstones. It stands to reason that they have to cast someone he's fighting from the Free Cities, from the Triple Alliance. Actually see Kragus Crabfeeder, the guy who's tying all the pirates to stakes at low tide. I don't know if he'd be a big dialogue thing or if they just mention, there's the ship of Kragus Crabfeeder, and we don't actually see who's on it. Just they point to a ship on the horizon. I think they'll probably cast Kragus. Hopefully Recalio Rindoon, but they might say that for a later season. Recalio. How do I even begin to describe Recalio? The one I'm really hoping for, that's another big one that they should cast for season 1, is Joanna Westerling, because she marries Jason Lannister and she's the niece of Harold Westerling, who's the Lord Commander of the Kingsguard. And as you've seen, they've built up Harold Westerling a lot. He's surviving longer than he did in the books, which is good actor. It makes more contrast that way. So given that Harold is so prominent and they've cast Jason Lannister, I think they would cast Joanna Westerling for season 1. She's his wife, or show her as a maiden marrying him in season 1, setting up that subplot. But other than these 4, I don't know if Cregan will even appear on screen, or if he does, it probably won't be the person they cast as the grown-up version of him. So tell me in the comments, just based on what we know of the story, who needs to appear in the story through the death of Laena and Laenor? Like Carl Corey would be a minor one, but I think they've covered most of the big ones. Boros Baratheon, same as Cregan. We don't know if they'll cast them for this season or wait for season 2. Ties into the question of when does season 1 end. But because of the Aegon and Aemon thing, I wanted to make a clear listing of, okay, this is everyone who we're pretty sure they've cast.